Okay, so today we are on lesson 7. Comparing relationships with tables. Let's explore how proportional relationships are different from other relationships. Today's goals. I can decide if a relationship represented by a table could be proportional and when it is definitely not proportional. Visiting the state park. Remember, if at any point you have a question or know the answer to a question, you can click on the raise your hand button or type your answer into the chat box. Let's look at this first question. It says for each row in the table, if each person in the vehicle split the entrance cost equally, how much will each person pay? I feel like I forgot something here. Because I did. I forgot the cost. Of course I did. We're skipping that one because Ms. Pernis forgot to add information in there. Okay, let's look at this one. It says Han and Claire were running laps around the track. The coach recorded their times at the end of laps 2, 4, 6, and 8. So on the first table for Han, we see that he has his distance, which would be our X, and we see his time, which would be our Y. Remember, we're always labeling our table, X and Y. This row right here, the third row, I'll explain what that is in a second. And then for Claire, we have the same thing. We have her distance in laps, which is X, and we have her time, which is Y. So we want to see if they are proportional. So I'm going to explain what that means. So we've talked a little bit about it. We want to make sure that we are equivalent all the way down the table. So the first thing I want to do is find my unit rate. So unit rate, we can either go up to 1 or we can find it by doing Y divided by X. So we're going to do that all the way down the table. So normally we find the unit rate once, right? Well, we want to find the unit rate across every row to make sure that when we fill in this last column, if the number is the same, that means the table is proportional. That means the table is equivalent all the way down. If we have different numbers all the way down the table, then that means it's not equivalent, which means our table is not proportional. So I'm going to do the first one. You have it on your screen. You don't have to do the first one on your screen. I want you to write the first one in your notes so you have it. So if I were to do 4 divided by 2, that's an easy one. What's 4 divided by 2? 2. So I'm going to write 2 right in there. So I know 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. Then I'm going to do the next one. 9 divided by 4. So what's 9 divided by 4? If you don't know it using mental math, use another strategy. What's 9 divided by 4? You said 25 or 5? 2.25. So I'm going to write it in here. What about 15 divided by 6. 2.5. And 23 divided by 8. 3.87. 3.87. Okay, so notice in that last column, are all those numbers the same? 2, 2.25, 2.5, 3.87. Are all those numbers the same? Is it the same number? No, they're not all the same number. In order for our table to be proportional, the unit rate needs to be the same all the way down the table. And I'm going to write that over here in the corner. And this is a good little note for you to write, like star it and go, if the unit rate is not the same all the way down the table, it is not proportional. So if we had 2, 2, 2, 2, then our table would have been proportional. Or even if it had been 2.5, 2.5, as long as it was the same number all the way down. Okay, I'm going to give you a minute to write that down, whether you're here or at home. That is important for you to know, because right now we're working with proportional and non-proportional tables. But later this week, we're going to be working with proportional and not proportional graphs. So, si el número o la unidad no es la misma desde arriba a abajo en una tabla, entonces la tabla no es proporcional. Okay, we're going to check out Claire's run now. So what I want you to do, whether you're here or at home, I want you to find the unit rate for the third column. Remember, the unit rate equals y divided by x. So for example, Claire's run, 5 divided by 2. So go ahead and do that now. Okay, so if I divide 5 divided by 2, what does it give me? 2.5. If I do 10 divided by 4, what does it give me? If I do 15 divided by 6?
2.5.
If I do 20 divided by 8?
2.5.
Perfect. So if I have the same number all the way down, is it proportional or not proportional?
It's proportional.
It's proportional. Perfect. So my second table, Claire's run, is proportional. So if I were to ask you a question, is it proportional or is it not? Is it proportional? You would say yes. Is it not proportional? You'd say no. Make sure you click submit. So we talked about this a little bit, but I want you to think back and I want you to type in a quick answer for number 1. We'll talk about number 2 in a second. So number 1 asks, is Han running at a constant pace? Is Claire? How do you know? So those are 3 separate questions. So you might want to go first question. You might want to do bullet points. First question, I write my answer. Second question, I write my answer. third question, I write my answer. If you were typing it, you click type, and then you click one of those little dash buttons so that you can put in all three answers. It's like in reading. You want to make sure that you're answering all the questions, not just one. Okay, so I was reading through, and I thought Annabelle did a really nice job. I didn't get to everybody, so don't think that because I didn't put yours up, yours was wrong. No, I just didn't get to everybody. So it says, is Han running at a constant pace? Annabelle wrote, Han is not running at a constant pace. Claire is running at a constant pace. So remember, we looked at those two tables. In the first one, our numbers were all different. In the second one, our numbers were all the same. So how do you know? I know because all the numbers in Han's table were not the same, but Claire's table had all the same numbers. You could also write, because I know that Han's table was not proportional and Claire's table was proportional. Or you could write, when I divided y by x in Han's table, it gave me different answers, and Claire's gave me the same. Okay? So that was very, very... Oh, I was like, is someone talking to me? Okay, so then the second question says, write an equation for the relationship between the distance and time for anyone who's running at a constant pace. So we know that Claire was running at a constant pace. So we want to write an equation for Claire's table. What was Claire's unit rate? What was that number that was constant all the way down? 2.5. So if I write my equation, it would be y equals, what's my unit rate? 2.5, and what am I missing over here? What am I missing? If we've been following along with our lessons, we would know y equals 2.5 x.
X.
Perfect. So that is our equation. Once you have it written down, submit, and we are going to move on in 30 seconds.